Hello there and welcome to another segment of our literature class. We are still discussing Second Class Citizens by Buchi Emecheta. And this time we are going to be talking about the themes in this novel. Let's start with the plight of the oppressed. The title of the book itself indicates its overarching theme. As with much of the author's body of work, this novel is concerned with exposing the difficulties of being part of an oppressed societal group, in this case, an African immigrant to the UK. The group comprising the oppressed are hardly limited to just one single identity or identifier, as the forces of oppression are realized in the form of racism, misogyny, class, and xenophobia, as the case may be. So, Emecheta's tone is one of empathy and understanding towards those whose lives are are constant, whose life are constantly struggled against entrenched powers. We talk about the theme of marriage as tyranny, marriage as tyranny. So, the portrait of marriage presented in the novel is anything but the fairy tale, happily ever after illusion of romance. Marital bliss is secondary to marital disturbance, as the cause of true love is permanently obstructed by patriarchal domination and desire to subjugate the wife, which only ever serves the endangered feeling of regret and resentment in the wife towards the husband. The inevitable paradox is that both unsuccessful and successful rebellion of the oppressed party engineers a tearing apart of the social fabric that marriage as a contractual endeavor is intended to reinforce. We have the theme of anti-immigrant prejudice. Focusing on the British policies in particular, the novel is an unblinking presentation of how deep and widespread anti-immigration or anti-immigrant feeling run among the natives. The natives here, we are talking about the British. So, the story reveals the country, but especially London, to be a fostering boil of racial hostility that may be revealed explicitly and without shame, or may be expressed in more repressed ways that fail in the effort to hide the true feelings of those who may feel compelled to present a more concepting and empathetic facet. The message is that Britons are inherently undesiring of any foreigner interrupting their way of life, but are far more likely to be vehemently so when the foreigner arrives from cultures dominated by darker pigment of their skin, especially Africans. We'll talk about motherhood. Ada is a fierce mother, protective of her children and always advocating for their safety and selfhood and trying to instill pride in their blackness. She wants a career, yes, but she is unequivocally devoted to her children. She has an instinctual understanding of what they need and want through, though she often struggles uh, to be the sort of mother she wants to be in this foreign land of London. Ada also sees motherhood through a feminist lens as a choice women should be able to make, convinced in how she seeks contraceptive and abortion pills in order to control her productive ability, which her husband, of course, is against. Feminism. Feminism is another thing that is discussed here. So, the feminist lens with which we may want to regard the novel is some sort of anachronistic, but that does not mean that does not evince qualities, characteristics, and behaviors that point to a feminist ethos. She wants to balance motherhood and a career. She wants to make choices about her own body. She wants to develop her own identity. And she is an imperfect feminist model in terms of her marriage to Francis, who is unequivocally an abuser, as well as her lack of interest in supporting other women. But overall, we can analyze many aspects of her character in terms of proto feminism. The welfare state. Britain's welfare state comes under some sort of criticism by Emecheta's keen gaze in his novel. Sometimes it seems to function well enough, and other benefits from its offerings. However, it is also depicted as problematic, especially for women and immigrants, of which Ada is both. As a woman, Ada is subjected to rules that privilege male control over women. And as an immigrant, Ada has to deal with the immensity of the system without much help at all. Race and class. Britain is typically viewed as a place that struggles more with class than race. But for immigrants, those two categories are inextricable. Ada and Francis' blackness precludes their getting affordable housing. Just because they are black, they can't get affordable housing. So, as well as dictates how they are generally treated by other people, especially the white. So, it initially pushes them into a lower class, though Ada's tenacity and intelligence help propel the family towards forward a bit. Ada struggles with the conflation of race and class, for she cannot fathom how she has to inhabit the same spaces as people who will have been servants of hers back in Nigeria. Though she's in England, she sees that she's smarter than these people, she's better than them. But here, she's looked down upon. She's taking the place of a second class citizen. So these are some of the few themes that we can take in this segment. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you all the best.